Good morning, Toastmasters. Good morning, Toastmasters. Good morning, scientists. Good morning, suffragettes. I'm Joseph Colgan. Thank you for getting up early on this Tuesday morning to hear my little speech, Suffragette City. Hunter. Rick Hunter. Rick Hunter was thrown out of his high school for blowing up the chemistry lab. Rick is a member of Mensa and was getting by in life being an underemployed construction worker as well as an amateur cave explorer with his fellow explorer, Steve Tucker. Steve Tucker is also a professional accountant. I want you to notice how thin and wiry Steve's body is. This is important to our story. Rick and Steve were exploring in the country of South Africa, up in the central eastern side in the area called the Rising Star Cave. This is a cutout or annotation of what the Rising Star Cave looks like. Notice that you enter and you go down approximately 60 feet. Many people have entered here. Far fewer people have gone through this point called the Superman's Crawl. I'll explain why in a little bit. And then they enter this pitch black area of jagged rocks, difficult to navigate. They come to a 7.5-inch gap. It's believed that Steve and Rick were the first people in thousands of years to decide they would like to see what's beyond that 7.5-inch hole. So they descended through it. They came to a drop off, which fortunately was very narrow because this is about a 15-foot drop. Were able to use their feet, shoulders, and knees and elbows and everything else on their body to slow their descent. They came to the Dinaledi Chamber, made an amazing discovery. This happened on Friday, September 13th, 2013. And I would like you all to remember where you were around 2013. I know that you were already living in Cupertino. You over there were already a member of Adelante Toastmasters. And very likely most of us were already settled in the Silicon Valley. Just point this out as how recent this discovery is. So Rick and Steve did not know who to contact about what they had seen. So they went to Lee Berger. Now, in case you don't know who Lee Berger is, Lee Berger is the Joe Montana or the Oprah Winfrey, the Mickey Mantle or the Albert Einstein of current paleontology. Because of a discovery he made in 2008, he's one of the most well published and well known um, scientists in paleontology. And when you reach that fame, they put your picture on the cover of the Rolling Stones. No, just kidding. They put your picture on Scientific America, Time Magazine, Science Magazine, many, many more professional periodicals. Hold it, wait a minute. Did I say that Lee made a discovery? Actually, truth to tell, in 2008, his then 9-year-old son Matthew discovered bones that were nearly 2 million years old and that were a major breakthrough in paleontology. So Lee returned. Rick and Steve encouraged Lee to come up to the Rising Star Cave, see what they had found. What and Lee needed. Rick and Steve showed Lee rough pictures of what they had found in the Rising Star Cave. He knew he needed better evidence to get the sponsorship that he needed. At that time, he was working for a local university as well as the National Geographic Society. It so happened at that time, the only individual in South Africa who could get through a 7.5-inch gap, who was well trained in paleontology and very familiar with photography and very familiar with digital photography, was Lee's son, then 14 years old. So Lee sent his son into that pitch black 7.5-inch gap that I'd shown you, and he waited an hour, and he waited a little longer, and he was beginning to believe he had made an enormous mistake. He was sure he was not going to be named Parent of the Year after this. Finally, Matthew's head popped up with crystal clear pictures of an amazing discovery. So we uploaded that. Called National Geographic's vice president at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the VP said, yes, we'll sponsor you, what you need to do, recover that material. So Lee did what most of us do right after Toastmasters. He went on Facebook. This is the actual email, the actual post he made. I'll read you a quick summary. The person must be skinny and preferably small. Successful candidates should not be claustrophobic. They had to be cavers. They had to hold a relevant master's degree or doctor's degree. They had to come to Johannesburg immediately and accept a blind mission for no pay. Travel expenses would be covered. He received 57 applications of well-qualified people. He chose 6. His email went out on Sunday, October 6th, 2013. And on Sunday, November 10th, 2013, notice how quickly this is all happening. The 6 ladies, later to be known as the underground astronauts, showed up in South Africa. Now, I want you to remember that if you are going for your PhD, you've just gotten it, you're probably somewhere between $60,000 and $160,000 in debt. The only one who will give you credit is the Bank of Mom, and you're probably working some kind of teacher's assistant, barely for minimum wage, until you can get your big break or get your doctorate degree. And once again, here is the another cutaway of the working area where the astronauts went. So they enter the cave. Now I'm showing you from the opposite angle. Down here, descended a good 50 feet. They came to the Superman's Crawl. It's called the Superman's Crawl because the only way to get through this narrow point is to put one shoulder in front of the other. Even these small petite ladies had to kind of wiggle and jiggle their way through this 10.5-inch opening into the pitch black room up to the 7.5-inch gap, where they slowly lower themselves down the 15-foot drop until they came again back into the Dinaledi chamber, the fossil site. It was filthy, dirty, low-paying, scary work, and our 6 scientists, our 6 underground astronauts said, bring it on. The significance of the Rising Star dig was that prior to this, the world's top anthropologists had worked for 50 years in East Africa to find a total of 100 hominoid fossils. The Rising Star team found their first 100 hominoid fossils in 5 days of working. It's a 19-day expedition, and a second team working a nearby cave a few months later found a total of 1,500 hominoid fossils. It's more than double the entire number of hominoid fossils discovered worldwide. Usually, fossils are found partially enclosed by hard rock or sediment. It can take weeks or even months to clear out a fossil from the rock that encases it. The fossils in the Dindaland chamber were sitting on top of soft, dusty earth. The majority of the bones were articulated. That means the finger bone was connected to the hand bone, connected to the arm bone, up to the shoulder bone, all the way. The complete body was laying in one place. In a future speech, I will elaborate on the findings in the chamber, but I want to conclude today listing the heroines of the expedition. Becca Pexito, PhD student, Washington, D.C. Maria Elliott, PhD, Canada. Ellen Ferragli, master's degree, anthropology, Australia. Hannah Morris, master's degree, Ohio State University. Ali Gurtov, PhD candidate, Tanzania. Hunter, Lindsay Hunter, MRS degree. Oh, just kidding you. She did end up marrying Rick Hunter, the gentleman who started our little speech here. And she holds a master's from the University of Iowa. Now, fellow Toastmasters, suffragettes, people that just came by because they had nothing better to do, I want to remind you that somewhere in your life, you'll get a chance, you'll be asked to go into the dark. It won't be well paid. It'll be filthy. It'll be uncomfortable. You'll be away from the family and that you know. But go there, go into the dark, because that's where breakthroughs are made. This has been a Kissing Cousin Chautauqua number 2. Thank you for listening to my speech.